Ethan Miller liked his quiet life. He fixed cars during the day and looked at stars at night from his small house in the mountains of Montana. He lived alone, far from other people, and that was just how he liked it. On a cold Tuesday night, Ethan sat on his porch with a cup of hot coffee. The sky was clear, filled with thousands of stars. He knew many of their names. Looking at them made him feel both small and big at the same time. Suddenly, a bright light streaked across the sky. It was not a normal shooting star. It was bigger, brighter, and it seemed to be heading toward the forest near his home. With a loud boom that shook the ground, the light crashed about 2 miles away. What the hell was that? Ethan said out loud, even though no one was there to hear him. He put down his coffee, grabbed his jacket and flashlight, and jumped into his old truck. Something told him he needed to see what had fallen from the sky. The truck bumped along the dirt road until Ethan couldn't drive any farther. He got out and walked through the trees, following the path of broken branches. A strange smell hung in the air like metal and something sweet he couldn't name. Then he saw it. A deep cut in the earth led to something that definitely wasn't a rock from space. It was a ship about the size of a small bus. Its surface was smooth and dark, with lines of soft blue light running along its sides. It didn't look like any plane or spacecraft Ethan had ever seen on TV or in magazines. "Hello?" Ethan called out, not really expecting an answer. "Is anyone there?" He moved closer, his heart beating fast. Part of the ship had cracked open, revealing a door or hatch. Gathering his courage, Ethan climbed up and looked inside. The inside glowed with soft light from screens and buttons. And there, strapped to what looked like a chair, was a woman. At least she looked mostly like a woman. Her skin had a strange glow to it, changing slightly from blue to purple as she breathed. Her hair was white, but not like an old person's hair. It was pure white, like fresh snow, and it seemed to move slightly even though there was no wind. When she opened her eyes and looked at him, Ethan gasped. Her eyes had pupils like a cat's, thin lines up and down instead of circles. "Help," she said in perfect English, which surprised Ethan almost as much as finding her in the first place. "Please." Ethan saw blood on her arm and sighed. The strange woman was hurt. Without thinking about how weird this all was, he gently helped her out of the chair. "My name is Ethan," he said as he helped her stand. "I live nearby. I can help you." "Lyra," she said, her voice smooth and clear despite her pain. "My name is Lyra. What happened, Lyra?" "What is this thing?" Ethan asked, looking around at the strange ship. "No time," she said, wincing. "They might track the crash. We need to go." "Who might track it?" Ethan asked, but Lyra just shook her head. "Please," she said. "I need somewhere safe." Ethan helped Lyra walk through the forest. She was light, lighter than she should be for her height. Another strange thing about her. As they walked, she looked up at the stars with worry in her eyes. Back at his cabin, Ethan helped Lyra sit on his couch. In the light, he could see her better. She wore clothes made of a material he had never seen before. It looked like cloth but shimmered like metal. Her injuries didn't look as bad as he first thought, but they were still bleeding. "I'll get my first aid kit," Ethan said. "Thank you," Lyra replied. "You are kind to help a stranger." When Ethan came back with bandages and medicine, Lyra was looking at his books and pictures with great interest. "Your world is very young," she said. "My world?" Ethan asked as he started to clean her cuts. "You mean you're not from Earth?" Lyra looked at him for a long moment. "No," she finally said. "I am not." Ethan's hand stopped moving. He had joked about aliens with friends before. He had even believed they might exist somewhere out in space. But having one sitting on his couch was something else entirely. "Are you afraid now?" Lyra asked. Ethan thought about it. He should be afraid, but somehow he wasn't. "No," he said. "Just surprised." As he bandaged her wounds, Lyra told him she needed his help to fix her ship. She said she could pay him with small crystals she took from a pocket. They glowed from inside like they had tiny stars trapped in them. "These are worth more than you can imagine," she said. "They could buy this entire forest and everything in it." Ethan didn't care about the payment. He was already caught up in the adventure of it all. "I'll help you," he said. "I'm good with machines." That night, as Lyra slept in his bed, he took the couch. Ethan looked out his window at the stars. One of those tiny lights was where Lyra came from. She was running from something or someone, and now he was part of her story. Little did Ethan know that the woman sleeping in his bed ruled more stars than he could see in the sky. She was Empress Lyra Celastis, leader of the Galactic Hegemony with thousands of worlds under her control. Her wealth was beyond counting, her power nearly absolute. And now she was hiding in a small cabin on a backwater planet, depending on the kindness of a simple mechanic who had no idea who she really was. Up in space, beyond what Earth's telescopes could see, ships were already starting to search. The Empress had disappeared, and the balance of power across the galaxy hung in the balance. Some searched to save her, others searched to kill her, and all paths led to Earth. A week passed since Lyra crashed on Earth. Each day she and Ethan would walk to her ship hidden in the forest. Ethan brought his tools, and Lyra showed him how to fix things he never knew could exist. "This part connects to the star drive," Lyra explained, pointing to a shiny box that hummed when she touched it. "It's damaged, but we can fix it." Ethan watched in wonder as the ship seemed to respond to Lyra's touch. Screens lit up for her but stayed dark for him. Doors opened when she walked near them. The ship knew its owner. "How does it know it's you?" Ethan asked one day as they worked. Lyra smiled. "My people link with our ships. They become part of us and we become part of them." "Your people must be very advanced," Ethan said, handing her a tool that looked like a wrench but glowed blue at one end. "Some say we are," Lyra replied. "Others would say we've lost something by relying so much on technology." As they talked, Ethan noticed Lyra knew a lot about many things. She spoke about science, art, and history as if she had studied for years. Sometimes she mentioned places with strange names like Centauri Prime or the Pleiades Council. When Ethan asked about these places, she would smile and change the subject. One night, as they sat on Ethan's porch looking at the stars, Lyra pointed to a faint star near the moon. "My home is in that direction," she said softly, "though you can't see it from here. Do you miss it?" Ethan asked. "I miss some parts of it," she said carefully, "but there are problems there. Big problems I was trying to fix when I was—" She stopped herself. "When you were what?" Ethan asked. "When I was forced to leave," Lyra said. She looked sad but also angry. "Some people didn't like the changes I wanted to make." Ethan wanted to ask more, but something in the sky caught his eye. A light moved in a straight line, too steady to be a plane. "Is that a satellite?" he asked, pointing. Lyra looked up quickly. Her face changed from calm to worried in an instant. "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe not." The next morning, a black car drove up to Ethan's cabin. A woman in a dark suit got out, followed by two men who looked like they worked out a lot. "Good morning," the woman said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Agent Kimberly Foster. We're investigating reports of unusual meteorological activity in this area. Mind if we ask you a few questions?" Ethan stood in his doorway, blocking the view inside where Lyra was hiding. "I don't know anything about weather stuff," he said, trying to sound normal. Agent Foster looked past him. "Nice place you've got. Live here alone?" "Yep, just me," Ethan said. He felt sweat on his back even though it was cool outside. "Mind if we come in and look around?" one of the men asked. He didn't wait for an answer but started to move forward. "Actually, I do mind," Ethan said, standing his ground. "Do you have a warrant?" Agent Foster's fake smile disappeared. "We can get one if necessary, Mr. Miller." "Then come back when you have it," Ethan said, surprised by his own courage. After a tense moment, Agent Foster handed him a card. "Call us if you see anything unusual. Anything at all." The three of them got back in their car and drove away. As soon as they were gone, Lyra came out from the hidden basement Ethan had built years ago to store food for winter. "They're looking for me," she said, her face pale. "This is bad. Very bad." "Who were they really?" Ethan asked. "They didn't seem like normal government people." "They might be working for the people who tried to kill me," Lyra said. "Or they could be from your government. Either way, they'll be back." That night, Lyra finally told Ethan more of the truth. They sat at his kitchen table, speaking in whispers even though no one else was around. "I'm part of a governing body," she said carefully. "I was trying to change some old rules. Rules about planets like Earth." "What kind of rules?" Ethan asked. "Rules that say we can't make contact with worlds that haven't developed certain technologies yet. Your world is considered too young, too undeveloped." Ethan frowned. "That sounds a bit insulting," Lyra smiled. "I agree. That's why I wanted to change it. I believe worlds like yours have much to offer, even without advanced technology." But others disagreed. Strongly disagreed. "So strongly they tried to kill you?" Ethan asked. Lyra nodded. "There was a political disagreement. My ship was sabotaged. I barely escaped. And now you're stuck here with me, Ethan said. Yes, Lyra replied. And by helping me, you're in danger too. I'm sorry for that, Ethan thought about this. His simple life had become very complicated very quickly, but he didn't regret helping Lyra. Not at all. We'll just have to fix your ship faster, he said. Then you can go home and deal with these people. Lyra reached across the table and took his hand. Her skin felt warm, with a slight tingle like a gentle electric current. Thank you, Ethan. Your kindness is unexpected and valuable. Far away in space, Admiral Vera Dalton stood on the bridge of her massive warship. Screens around her showed maps of stars and planets. One small dot was marked Sol System Terra. Any word from the Empress? She asked a nervous officer. No, Admiral, the officer replied. Our scouts have narrowed it down to the third planet, but we can't pinpoint her location without sending a more obvious signal. Admiral Dalton frowned. And the rebel fleet? Grand Chancellor Orion has gathered 12 warships. They're searching sector by sector. Admiral Dalton looked at the small dot representing Earth. Somewhere on that tiny planet was her Empress, the ruler of the most powerful empire in known space. An Empress who was now depending on the help of primitives who didn't even know other intelligent life existed. Set course for the Sol system, Admiral Dalton ordered. Maximum stealth. We need to find her before Orion does. As Admiral Dalton's ship moved silently through space, neither she nor Lyra knew that the Obsidian Brotherhood had already established a base on Earth. Hidden in the mountains not 10 miles from Ethan's cabin, they watched and waited, planning the moment when they would strike and end the reign of Empress Lyra Celastis once and for all. In a hidden cave 10 miles from Ethan's cabin, Mara Blackwood checked her weapons. She had once been Lyra's friend. Now she was her hunter. Status report, Mara demanded, looking at the 3 warriors around her. They wore black suits that could bend light around them, making them nearly invisible. We've confirmed the Empress is with a local, said one warrior, a mechanic named Ethan Miller. They visit the crashed ship daily, Mara smiled. How fitting. The mighty Empress reduced to begging help from a primitive. When do we strike? Asked another warrior. Soon, Mara said. Let her feel safe first. Let her think she might escape. She looked at a screen showing Ethan's cabin from far away. Then we'll take everything from her, just as she took everything from me. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lyra were making good progress on the ship. After 2 weeks of work, the main systems were almost fixed. Try it now, Lyra said, watching as Ethan connected 2 glowing wires under a panel. Ethan pushed the wires together. With a soft hum, the ship's lights came fully on. Screens lit up all around them, showing strange symbols Ethan couldn't read. It worked, Ethan said, smiling proudly. Lyra touched a screen and the symbols changed to English. Yes, the main power is back. Now we need to fix the drive system. As they worked, Ethan noticed Lyra was acting strange. She kept looking at the sky and checking a small device she wore on her wrist. What's wrong? He finally asked. Lyra sighed. My people will be looking for me, but so will my enemies. I can feel them getting closer. How can you feel them? Ethan asked. My connection to my ship, Lyra explained. It senses other ships like it. And there are ships entering this solar system now. Ethan put down his tools. Lyra, I need to know more. Who are you, really? You're not just some random person who works in governance. There's more to it, isn't there? Lyra was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. Yes, there is more, much more. But telling you puts you in even greater danger. I'm already hiding an alien in my house and lying to government agents, Ethan said with a small smile. How much worse could it get? Much worse, Lyra said seriously. But she saw the determination in Ethan's eyes and knew he deserved some truth. I am important where I come from. I lead a coalition of worlds. Many worlds. Like a president? Ethan asked. Something like that, Lyra said, not quite meeting his eyes. Before Ethan could ask more, a loud beeping came from inside the ship. Lyra rushed to a screen and touched it. Her face went pale. We need to leave now, she said, grabbing Ethan's arm. What? Why? Ethan asked, confused. They found us, Lyra said, pulling him toward the exit. The Obsidian Brotherhood. They're close. They ran through the forest back toward Ethan's cabin. Just as they reached the edge of the trees, Ethan saw movement. Something fast and dark leaped between the trees. Down, Lyra shouted, pushing Ethan to the ground just as a beam of red light shot over their heads. The beam hit a tree which instantly turned to ash. What the hell? Ethan gasped. Run! Lyra commanded. To your truck. They sprinted to Ethan's old truck. As they reached it, 3 figures in black appeared from the trees. They were human-shaped but moved too fast, too smoothly to be normal people. To Ethan's shock, Lyra didn't run away. Instead, she turned to face the attackers. When the first one reached her, she moved with incredible speed. Her arm blocked his attack and she spun, kicking him with enough force to send him flying 10 feet back. The other 2 attacked at once. Lyra ducked under one punch and caught another with her bare hand. She moved like nothing Ethan had ever seen, almost like she was dancing between the attackers. One attacker pulled out a weapon that looked like a small silver tube. Before he could use it, Ethan revved his truck engine and drove straight at the man, hitting him hard enough to send him tumbling into the brush. Get in, Ethan shouted to Lyra. Lyra jumped into the truck and they sped away, leaving the stunned attackers behind. What were those things? Ethan asked, his heart pounding. Assassins, Lyra said, breathing hard. Elite killers from the Obsidian Brotherhood. They work for the man who tried to take my position. Your position, Ethan repeated, as leader of this coalition. Lyra looked at him, her cat-like eyes serious. Ethan, I haven't been fully honest with you. The coalition I lead, it's not just a few worlds. It's thousands, thousands of worlds across this galaxy. Ethan nearly drove off the road. Thousands! You rule thousands of planets? Yes, Lyra said quietly. I am Empress Lyra Celastis, 37th ruler of the Galactic Hegemony. Ethan couldn't speak. He kept driving, trying to process what she had just told him. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, Lyra continued, but the less you knew, the safer you were. Now that's changed. An empress, Ethan finally said. I've been helping an alien empress fix her spaceship. Yes, Lyra said. And now we need to find somewhere safe. We can't go back to your cabin or my ship. They'll be watching both places, Ethan thought for a moment. I have a friend who has a hunting cabin about 50 miles from here. No one knows about it except me and him. And he's in Alaska right now, so it's empty. Good, Lyra said. We'll go there. As they drove, Lyra explained more about the hegemony and the coup against her. She told Ethan about Grand Chancellor Orion, who had opposed her plans to welcome developing worlds like Earth into the galactic community. He believes worlds should develop on their own, with no outside influence, Lyra said, even if it means they suffer through wars, disease, and environmental disasters that we could help prevent. And you disagree? Ethan asked. I believe in helping where we can, Lyra said. With care and respect, but yes, helping. Many on the council agreed with me. That's why Orion resorted to violence. They reached the hunting cabin as night fell. It was small and rustic with no electricity or running water. But it was hidden in a dense forest far from roads or towns. Inside, Lyra took a small device from her pocket. It unfolded into something like a laptop computer but thinner and made of a material that seemed to glow from within. What's that? Ethan asked. A quantum communicator, Lyra said. If I can boost its signal, I might be able to contact my fleet. You have a fleet? Ethan asked, still trying to grasp the scale of who Lyra really was. Yes, Lyra said, working on the device. The largest in known space. Admiral Dalton will be looking for me. As Lyra worked on the communicator, Ethan looked out the window at the stars. One of those tiny points of light might be a ship looking for Lyra. A ship that was part of a fleet that answered to the woman sitting in this simple cabin. He had helped her when she needed it most. Not knowing she ruled the galaxy and was richer than any queen alive, and now they were both running for their lives. High above Earth, a fleet of massive ships appeared out of nowhere. They were smooth and sleek, with no visible engines or weapons, yet they moved with purpose and power. On the bridge of the largest ship, Grand Chancellor Orion watched the blue planet on his screen. His eyes were cold, his face hard with determination. The Empress is down there, he said to his officers. Find her. Sir, said one officer nervously. Our sensors detect another fleet entering the system. Admiral Dalton's ships, Orion's face twisted with anger. So the loyal dog comes to save her master. Prepare for battle, and send word to Mara. Tell her to finish the job now. Back on Earth in the small hunting cabin, Lyra had finally connected her communicator to what she called the monitoring satellites. What are those? Ethan asked, watching as strange symbols flowed across the screen of her device. My ancestors placed them around Earth centuries ago, Lyra explained. They look like normal space rocks to your scientists, but They're actually advanced monitoring stations. They let us watch Earth's development without interfering. So you've been spying on us? Ethan asked, not sure how to feel about that. Observing, Lyra corrected, like scientists watching animals in their natural habitat. Great, so we're animals to you? Ethan said, crossing his arms. Lyra looked up, realizing her mistake. No, that's not what I meant. It's just different levels of development, like how you might watch over a child until they're ready to make their own decisions. Before Ethan could respond, Lyra's communicator made a sound, like bells ringing. Her face lit up. It's Admiral Dalton. She's in orbit. Lyra pressed some buttons and spoke in a language Ethan had never heard before. It sounded like singing and clicking mixed together. After a brief conversation, Lyra turned to Ethan, her face serious. Orion's fleet is here too. There's going to be a battle in orbit around your planet. A space battle? Around Earth? Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. Won't people notice that? The battle will happen on the far side of your moon, Lyra said. But yes, some might notice strange lights or unusual satellite disruptions. She turned back to her communicator and touched more symbols. Suddenly, the small screen expanded into a large floating 3D image that filled half the cabin. Ethan gasped as he saw a perfect image of Earth with tiny ships moving around it. What is this? He asked in wonder. I've taken control of the monitoring network, Lyra said, her fingers moving quickly over the floating symbols. I can now see everything happening in your solar system. The image zoomed out, showing two groups of ships facing each other near the moon. One group glowed blue, the other red. My loyal forces in blue, Lyra explained. Orion's rebels in red. As they watched, the red and blue dots began to move, dancing around each other in what Ethan realized was a space battle. Flashes of light showed where ships fired weapons at each other. I need to help them, Lyra said, her voice taking on a tone of command that Ethan hadn't heard before. She spoke again in her strange language into the communicator. The 3D image changed, showing different angles of the battle. Lyra's hands moved constantly, giving orders, analyzing data, making decisions that affected ships thousands of miles above them. Ethan watched in awe as Lyra transformed before his eyes. Gone was the injured woman he had found in a crashed ship. In her place was a leader, a strategist, an empress commanding a fleet in battle. Dalton, move the third wing to Sector 7, Lyra ordered in English, apparently for Ethan's benefit. Draw their cruisers away from the planet. We can't risk debris falling to the surface. The blue dots moved according to her commands, surrounding the red ones with a complex pattern that Ethan couldn't fully understand. It's working, Lyra said with satisfaction. Orion's forces are being pushed back. Suddenly, an alarm sounded from the communicator. The 3D image zoomed in to show their location on Earth. Several small red dots were moving toward the cabin. They found us, Lyra said, her voice tight. Mara and her assassins are coming. How? Ethan asked, looking around as if expecting to see them already in the cabin. The communicator's signal, Lyra explained, shutting down the 3D image. They traced it. We need to leave now. They ran outside to Ethan's truck, but before they could reach it, a beam of red light hit it. The truck exploded in a ball of fire. This way, Lyra shouted, pulling Ethan toward the trees. They ran through the dark forest, guided only by the light of the moon. Behind them, Ethan could hear strange humming sounds and see flashes of light as the assassins searched for them. Where are we going? Ethan gasped as they ran. There's a clearing half a mile ahead, Lyra said, not even out of breath. I've called for extraction. Extraction? Ethan repeated. A ship is coming for us, Lyra explained. One of mine. They reached the clearing just as a red beam hit a tree near Ethan's head. He ducked, feeling the heat as the tree burst into flames. Lyra pulled a small silver object from her pocket. It expanded in her hand to form a gun-like weapon. She fired back at their pursuers, her shots a bright blue that lit up the forest. Stay down, she ordered Ethan. From the trees emerged three figures in black. They moved with that same unnatural speed Ethan had seen before. Lyra fired her weapon, hitting one who fell without a sound. The other two split up, trying to circle around them. Lyra stood in front of Ethan, her weapon moving from one target to the other. You can't win, Lyra, called a woman's voice from the darkness. Orion's fleet will destroy your loyal ships, and I will end your rule here on this backwater planet. Mara, Lyra said, her voice cold. I should have known Orion would send you. Still bitter that I was chosen for the throne instead of you? A woman stepped into the moonlight. She looked human, But like Lyra, there was something not quite right about her. Her eyes reflected the light too brightly, and her movements were too perfect. "The throne was rightfully mine," Mara said, hatred clear in her voice. "My family served the hegemony for generations. But yours charmed your way in with promises of change and progress." "The hegemony needed change," Lyra replied. "We were becoming stagnant, afraid of new ideas." "Afraid of worlds like Earth," Mara laughed. "Worlds like this? Full of primitives who can barely leave their own atmosphere?" She looked at Ethan with disgust. "And you would give them access to our technology? Our knowledge? They would destroy themselves within a generation." "You underestimate them," Lyra said, "just as you underestimate me." Above them, the sky suddenly lit up. A circle of clouds began to spin, glowing with blue light. Ethan looked up in wonder as the clouds parted to reveal a ship descending toward them. It was smaller than Lyra's crashed ship, but moved with incredible grace. "My extraction team," Lyra said with a smile. "Right on time." Mara's face twisted with rage. She pulled out a weapon and fired at Lyra. Lyra dodged, returning fire as she pushed Ethan toward the landing ship. The ship touched down in the clearing, a door sliding open on its side. A woman in a uniform stepped out, firing her own weapon at Mara and her assassins. "Empress," the woman called. "This way." Ethan and Lyra ran toward the ship, ducking under the fire from Mara's weapons. They were almost there when Ethan heard Lyra cry out in pain. He turned to see her fall, clutching her side where a red beam had grazed her. Without thinking, Ethan ran back to her, lifting her in his arms. He carried her the last few steps to the ship as the uniformed woman provided covering fire. "Get her inside," the woman ordered as she continued to fire at Mara. Ethan carried Lyra into the ship, finding himself in a small cabin with chairs and screens similar to those in Lyra's crashed ship. He gently placed Lyra in one of the chairs. "Are you okay?" he asked, seeing blood on her side. "I'll be fine," Lyra said, wincing. "It's just a surface wound." The uniformed woman backed into the ship, still firing her weapon. "Commander Diana West," she introduced herself quickly. "Royal Guard to Empress Lyra Celastis, and you must be the local who's been helping her." "Ethan Miller," Ethan replied, still supporting Lyra. "Mechanic." "Well, Mechanic Ethan Miller," Commander West said as she hit a button that closed the ship's door. "You've just been drafted into a galactic war." The small ship shot up into the night sky, leaving Earth behind. Ethan looked out a window, watching his world grow smaller until it was just a blue marble among the stars. "I never thought I'd leave Earth," he said quietly. Commander West worked quickly to treat Lyra's wound. "The Empress will be fine," she told Ethan. "Our medical technology is quite advanced compared to yours." "I'm still getting used to the idea that she's an Empress," Ethan said. West looked at him with surprise. "You didn't know?" "All this time." "She didn't tell me until recently," Ethan explained. "She just said she needed help fixing her ship." West smiled slightly. "And you helped her, not knowing who she was. That's exactly why she wants to change our laws about worlds like yours. That kind of kindness is rare even in the hegemony." The ship shook suddenly. Commander West rushed to a control panel. "We're under attack," she reported. "One of Mara's ships must have followed us." Lyra sat up, ignoring her injury. "Status of the main fleet?" she asked, her voice strong despite her pain. "Admiral Dalton is winning the battle," West replied. "But Orion has sent a destroyer after us specifically." Ethan looked out the window again and saw another ship, much larger than theirs, following them. It fired red beams that barely missed them. "We can't outrun a destroyer," Lyra said, "and we can't fight it with this small ship." "What do we do?" Ethan asked. Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "You're a mechanic. You understand how things work, how they can be broken." "I guess so," Ethan said, not sure where she was going with this. "Our ship's weapons can't penetrate their shields," Lyra explained. "But there's a weak point in all destroyers. A cooling vent that connects directly to the main reactor. Like in that movie," Ethan said, remembering a famous science fiction film. "Hit the vent, blow up the ship?" "Something like that," Lyra said with a small smile. "But our targeting computers can't lock onto it while we're evading their fire. So someone needs to aim manually," Ethan guessed. "Yes," Lyra confirmed. "Someone with good hands and eyes. Someone who understands machines." Ethan realized she was talking about him. "You want me to shoot at the space vent?" "You fixed my ship when you'd never seen anything like it before," Lyra said. "I think you can do this too." Commander West led Ethan to a small room at the back of the ship. Inside was a chair surrounded by screens and controls. "This is the manual targeting system," West explained. "It's rarely used these days, but it's still functional." Ethan sat in the chair. The screens lit up, showing him a view of space outside the ship. He could see the destroyer following them, firing its weapons. "The cooling vent is there," West said, pointing to a small spot on the destroyer's surface. "It's only open for a few seconds every minute when the system purges excess heat." "So I have to hit it at exactly the right moment," Ethan said, understanding the challenge. "Yes," West replied. "The Empress believes you can do it." Ethan took hold of the controls. They felt strange in his hands, but not completely unfamiliar. In some ways, they reminded him of the video games he played as a kid. "Tell me when the vent will open," he said, focusing on the target. West checked a screen. "In 10 seconds. 9, 8. Ethan aimed carefully, remembering what Lyra had taught him about her technology over the past weeks. 3, 2, 1. "Now," West called. Ethan fired. A blue beam shot from their ship toward the destroyer. For a terrible moment, he thought he had missed. Then a small explosion appeared exactly where he had aimed. "Direct hit," West exclaimed. The explosion spread, growing larger as it triggered a chain reaction inside the destroyer. The massive ship began to break apart, pieces flying in all directions. "You did it," West said, clapping Ethan on the shoulder. They returned to the main cabin where Lyra waited. She had watched the whole thing on her screens. "Well done, Ethan," she said with a warm smile. "You may have just saved the hegemony." "I just shot at a vent," Ethan said modestly. "You did much more than that," Lyra replied. "You proved that humans from Earth are capable of extraordinary things, even with limited technology." The ship continued upward, eventually reaching a point where Ethan could see the curve of Earth below and the blackness of space above. Then suddenly stars stretched into lines and they were moving faster than Ethan could imagine. Minutes later they slowed down, and Ethan gasped at what he saw. A massive fleet of ships surrounded them, each one bigger than the largest aircraft carrier on Earth. And at the center was a ship so huge it looked like a floating city. "The Imperial Fleet," Lyra said, seeing his amazement. "And the flagship, Celestial Throne." Their small ship docked inside the massive flagship. As they stepped out, Ethan was stunned to see hundreds of people in uniforms lining up, all bowing as Lyra passed. "Your Majesty," a tall woman said, stepping forward and kneeling. "The fleet is yours again." "Rise, Admiral Dalton," Lyra said. "What news of Orion?" "Captured, Your Majesty," Admiral Dalton reported. "His fleet has surrendered. And Mara?" Lyra asked. "Still on Earth with her remaining assassins," Dalton replied. "We're tracking them." Lyra nodded. "Prepare a team to capture them. I want them alive if possible." "Yes, Your Majesty," Dalton said with another bow. As they walked through the massive ship, Ethan felt completely out of place. Everyone they passed bowed to Lyra. Screens on walls showed images of planets and stars he had never seen. The technology around him was beyond anything he could understand. Feeling overwhelmed, Lyra asked him quietly. "A little," Ethan admitted. "Yesterday I was a mechanic in Montana. Today I'm on a spaceship bigger than my hometown." Lyra led him to a large room with windows that showed the stars outside. "This is my private chamber," she said. "We can speak freely here." Ethan looked around at the beautiful room. The furniture was simple but made of materials he couldn't identify. Art that seemed to move and change hung on the walls. "So what happens now?" Ethan asked. "You go back to being Empress and I go back to fixing cars?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. "That depends," she said finally. "On many things." A chime sounded and Admiral Dalton's voice came from nowhere. "Your Majesty, the Council is waiting." "I'll be there shortly," Lyra replied to the air. She turned back to Ethan. "I must go. The Galactic Council will want to know everything that happened, and they won't be happy that I revealed myself to an Earth human." "Am I in trouble?" Ethan asked. "No," Lyra said firmly. "You saved my life. But I may be in trouble for breaking our non-interference laws." She left Ethan in the room, promising to return soon. Alone, Ethan looked out at the stars, trying to find Earth among them. It was just one tiny point of light among millions. His entire life had been lived on that small dot, never knowing about the vast empire that existed beyond it. Hours later, Lyra returned. She looked tired but satisfied. The council has made its decision, she said. I will remain Empress and Orion will face trial for treason. That's good news, Ethan said. Right? Yes, Lyra agreed. But there's more. Because of my actions on Earth, I am forbidden from having direct contact with your planet for 100 years. Ethan felt his heart sink. 100 years? But that means that I can never see you again, Lyra finished softly. At least not on Earth. Ethan didn't know what to say. In the short time he had known Lyra, she had changed his life completely. The thought of never seeing her again hurt more than he expected. However, Lyra continued with a small smile, the Council did not forbid Earth humans from leaving their planet. It's just that we can't invite you to do so. What are you saying? Ethan asked, hope rising in his chest. I'm saying that if a human were to somehow find his way into space on his own, the non-interference law wouldn't apply, Lyra explained. Commander West entered the room carrying a small device. As we discussed, Your Majesty, she said, handing it to Lyra. Lyra took the device and held it out to Ethan. This is a quantum communicator, like the one I used on Earth. It's been modified to work with your planet's technology. Ethan took the small object, which looked like a silver coin with strange symbols on it. And this, Lyra said, handing him a document, is an appointment making you Earth's unofficial ambassador to the hegemony. It means you can travel freely between worlds if you choose to. Ethan looked at the document, then back at Lyra. Are you asking me to leave Earth? I'm offering you a choice, Lyra said. You can return to your life on Earth, with the knowledge that there's more to the universe than you ever imagined. Or you can join us among the stars. What would I do out here? Ethan asked. I'm just a mechanic. A mechanic who helped an empress when she had nothing, Lyra replied, not knowing she ruled the galaxy and was richer than any queen alive. That kind of person is rare, Ethan. The hegemony needs more people like you. 3 months later, Ethan stood on the porch of his rebuilt cabin in Montana. It looked the same as before from the outside, but inside it now contained technology beyond anything on Earth. His official story was that he had been away visiting family. No one knew about the alien empress he had helped, or the space battle that had happened beyond the moon. The night was clear, and the stars shone brightly overhead. Ethan looked up at them, knowing that Lyra was out there somewhere ruling her vast empire. He touched the quantum communicator he kept in his pocket at all times. A sound behind him made him turn. Commander Diana West stood there, having arrived in a ship that could